Well, that might be the least annoying Celtics loss that I've watched. They gave themselves a chance, but too much of a rookie. Kill them. Historic night right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
B-Town, be ever ready. It's the C's. Who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT. Karalis, recap the madness every game, every practice. Prime time, Depp and D White on the sideline. Raining Jays, how it started, raising business, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Your team is the Boston Celtics, and I talk about them Monday through Friday. Bonus podcasts when they play like a Friday night game in New York. I will have a bonus podcast after that. So make sure you are subscribed so you get this free podcast anywhere you subscribe to podcasts. You can watch the show on YouTube, get into the comment section, share your thoughts with me. I'm John Karalis, beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. I've written a couple of books about the team, and I've been covering this team for like 20 years. So lots to talk about here after the Celtics lose to the Sixers. Later on, I will break down the positives and the negatives. A lot of positives. There are a few negatives for sure. This is a team that's still very much a work in progress. I hope that I set the proper expectation that this beginning of this schedule, first of all, was going to be tough. This was tough in a different way. That it might not go the way you'd hope it would go, and that it's going to take a little while for the Celtics to get the cohesion. I think we saw that in this game. But let's start with the simplest analysis, because sometimes that's just the best. They had a chance. They gave themselves a chance to win. They faced a Sixers team that, I clearly thought that Joel Embiid was going to be more effective than he was. He was absolutely the most ineffective I've ever seen Joel Embiid, and that's counting the Olympics. I don't know what's going on with his knee, but I'm actually like watching him out there. I'm like, this might be the end. This might be the end for Joel Embiid as we know him. I don't see how he could possibly get from what we saw in this game to MVP level Joel Embiid. I don't know what that process is going to be like, but every time he was out there, I was like, oh my God, absolutely attack this guy. He had Sam Hauser on a switch, and he didn't bury Sam Hauser into the basket and dunk on him. I think he passed out of that, or he passed out of the one where you got Jaylen Brown. And look, Jaylen's a tough defender, and he'll get in there and he'll push and all of that stuff. But when Embiid has position, has the ball in the post, and he's going up against Jaylen, Jaylen's kind of cooked. The whole way Jaylen defends Embiid is to not let him get comfortable and make the catch. So anyway, Embiid was out there, and the Celtics, it took maybe a few more possessions than I would have hoped. But as soon as it was obvious, like, oh my God, this guy can't move. They needed to put him in every action, and they started to. He only played 20 minutes. He was on a minutes restriction, but they won. They won this game by one, and he was a minus 16. So I'm just, anyway, regardless, I don't need to go on a whole big Joel Embiid thing. VJ Edgecomb and Tyrese Maxey carried the Sixers to this win, and you don't expect those guys to combine for 74 points. After the game, Peyton Pritchard said, we were ready to live with the three-pointers that Edgecomb took, and he was 5 of 13, 38.5%. He's a rookie, and there's no track record for him in the NBA. Some guys don't shoot well in college. Some guys do. And they come into the league, and it's kind of the opposite. They figure out, or something goes wrong or whatever. So the Celtics were ready to live with VJ Edgecomb's shooting, and he hit 5 3-pointers on them. And you can easily, when I say the simplest analysis, you could very easily say this was an outlier game. Edgecomb is a rookie. He's not going to average 34 points a game. This might be the only game this season where he makes 5 3-pointers. And if he had made 3 or 2, 4, if he just made one less, Celtics would have won this game. And the difference between winning and losing so often comes down to like a handful of plays. And so I don't want to overreact to a loss in the first game of the season when, yes, you got Joel Embiid 4 points, a -16 and a complete non-factor, but you also got VJ Edgecomb with the most points. They were the most points in a debut since Wilt Chamberlain, like 60 plus years ago. So you got to go all the way back to that for a debut like Edgecomb had. So if that had gone more normally, this would have been a different game. Peyton Pritchard at the end, the layup that got blocked was tough. He admitted after the game that he had it was a bad read. He should have kicked it out to Simons, who was open left slot, and Hauser was open in the left corner. And so Pritchard kind of made that mistake. And then Pritchard got the inbounds the second time and tried to draw a foul instead of going straight up for the shot. I think maybe he got a little caught up in that, trying to like, hey, if I can't hit this shot, maybe I can get the foul and get 2 free throws. And so, but he had a chance. He had a chance. He could have taken a fadeaway. He could have just made the right read in the middle of the lane and let Simons try to be the hero, or Hauser. They had time. And this is part of the growing pains, I think, because that's not, first of all, it's not a position that Pritchard has been in. When he has gotten the ball in a similar spot, very often it's because, oh crap, no one else is available and I'm the option and I have to try to make a play. He's not used to being the guy that the play wasn't drawn up for him, but he's not used to being the guy that's like, hey, I can draw a couple and kick. That's part of his job now. He's always been the Jayson isn't open or he passed it. Jaylen wasn't an option. He passed it. Derrick, Kristaps, those guys, the defense has overreacted 1, 2, 3 times, and the rotations have gotten to me, and now I can go do my thing. He now has to be the guy that makes the rotations happen. And if there's a kick, it's to someone else like Simons or Hauser. He has to be available. He has to be aware that those guys are available as outlets. Pritchard is not necessarily the outlet anymore. So that, I think, is one of the biggest takeaways. The dynamic has changed to a point here where Pritchard has this opportunity, and sure, go ahead, try to make something happen. I don't begrudge him that, but it's a great learning experience right away for him to be like, okay, no, you know what? My role is different. Sure, everybody trusts Pritchard to take a shot there. He has proven he is not afraid of those moments, but he also is not used to that moment, not in the NBA. And it's good to learn. This is the classic line, 1 of 82. This is not the end of the world. And as long as you're taking positive things out of this, they will use that to get better. Again, I go back to previous shows where I've said this multiple times. They're going to struggle, I think, early on, kind of like they did here, struggling to close things out, struggling with bad decisions, bad reactions, bad defense, all of that stuff, until they get to a point where some stuff becomes second nature and they learn from these mistakes and they build on it. And I do think the Celtics in February, March, and April, even as currently constituted, forget a potential Jayson Tatum comeback, just these guys as currently constituted, assuming that they stay relatively healthy, I think that exact situation gets handled much differently. It may include Jaylen Brown, it may not. He might be doubled and tripled or whatever, and I just think they handle that differently with a little bit more poise. So I think there is room for them to improve, a lot of room for them to improve. So they still had a chance to win. So my biggest overall positive from this is, even though there are mistakes, even though Edgecomb had one of the most impressive rookie games ever, even though Tyrese Maxey went absolutely nuts and had a 40-piece, they still hung in there. They still had a chance to win at the end. And the mistakes that they made are correctable mistakes. And that's kind of all you can ask for in that situation. So generally feeling positive. I'll come back and be even more positive. We'll talk about the positive players, and we'll save the negatives for later. And I don't think the negatives are all that bad. So all of that is coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint makes it simple. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your own phone and keep your same number and contacts. So that's a really cool feature. If you like getting the same quality service that you had before, you can get it for a fraction of the price. Setup is super easy. You can keep your number and get up and running in minutes. So say yes to saying no. Make the switch at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. Upfront payment of $45 is required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time, new customer offer for the first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. Today's show is also brought to you by Rougiette. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. Or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com is fast-acting. It offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You just get connected with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, no waiting rooms, no in-person appointments, nothing awkward like that. And if you get subscribed, the treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private. It's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit Rougiette.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET, Rougiette.com/LockedOnNBA. Don't forget to use that code LockedOnNBA so they know we sent you. Rougiette. Stop making excuses. Start making moves. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Busy night in the NBA. They got it all covered on Locked On NBA Game Night. So make sure you subscribe to the Locked On NBA feed. I'm there on Wednesdays. I had fun covering the opening night games with Jake Madison. Those were some fun games. Locked On NBA Game Night on the Locked On NBA feed covers every game 7 days a week. Let's get to the positives here from the Celtics loss, the 1-point loss. Let's start with Derrick White, who I think, listen, I'm going to spend a lot of time this year gushing about Derrick White. I think Derrick is, I would argue that he's the best overall basketball player on the team. His knowledge, like Jaylen Brown is better as, overall talent wise, but Derrick has, like, between IQ, ability, stability, consistency, all of that stuff, Derrick White, I think, just is incredible. So 25 points for him, hit a huge third quarter, 13-point third quarter. He did not shoot well, 7 of 20 overall, 4 of 13 from three. It's a little disappointing that he didn't shoot well because he had a ton. Those 13 threes, I was all for them. The Celtics didn't shoot well at all, 11 of 43 from three, but I was totally fine with White taking those shots. In fact, I tweeted out about, I don't know, halfway through the first quarter, not even, that the way Joel Embiid was playing, the Celtics needed to involve him in everything, run pick and rolls at him, and just watch Derrick White step into wide open three-pointers. When we get the shot quality and the looks that he got, I guarantee you, of those 13 three-pointers, probably 10, 11 were wide open or open. Derrick White will generally knock those down. He's going to have, if he takes those 13 again, he'll have a 10 for 13 night in there somewhere. So I'm not worried about shots falling, not falling. It's about the process. It's about, did you take the right shots? And I thought Derrick White took pretty much all of the right shots. 4 assists, 3 rebounds. If a couple of shots fall, I think the Celtics assist numbers do go up. So I thought White was incredible as usual. A block, a steal. I could keep going if we wanted to, but there's only so much time in the podcast. And I got to get to Neemias Queta, who had 17 points, 8 rebounds. The fourth quarter, I thought this was going to be like, the story was going to be Queta closing things out in the fourth quarter. That would have been a fun one, where he was 4 of 4, 8 points, 3 rebounds. And I was like, oh my God, Queta is closing this out? Just pick and roll, pick and roll, pick and roll. Derrick White found him. Guys just kept finding him, and he kept finishing. He even had one where I thought he was getting tired, and I think this might have contributed to some of the negative stuff from him in this, because I thought that last alley-oop, he didn't dunk it. The ball bounced a couple of times. It was, I don't know if you can have a shooter's touch on an attempted dunk that you were a little too far away for, but that's kind of how it bounced around. But hey, we'll take it. Queta was pretty good. I thought he did a really good job for the most part. But again, when we look at negatives and the fouls and all of that stuff, Queta did commit, he fouled out of the game, and he committed a couple of bad ones. The offensive foul, I'm sorry, that lean in with the hip, they're going to call that. The foul where there might've been an argument, and I didn't hear what they said on TV, but they were talking about verticality. On press row, we're talking about like going straight up, and maybe he got the ball, but I think the body he got, there was enough contact there, and Queta spent like 99% of that play going straight up, but he was also moving forward. And if we're talking about principle of verticality, it's not just keeping your hands up straight. You have to jump up and land in the same spot. That's verticality, where you jump up to meet somebody at the rim, block the shot, and even if your bodies collide, like you own that space from where you stand till infinity up high, and so you can go as far up as you can jump, as long as it's in a straight line. Doesn't matter if there's contact. But when you jump forward like he did, that's going to get called. And at the end, he did kind of swipe down, so that was a tough one. It was a good effort, but a couple of tough calls there. But I thought overall it was really great to see Queta playing like this, to add that to a good performance in that last preseason game. Look, I've said what I needed to say about Queta, before. I'd love to see more consistency. I'd love to see him 25 minutes a game from Queta would be great. This is kind of exactly the type of game that you want to get from him. 27 points, 8 rebounds. Did he? I don't know. I thought he had a block shot, but apparently not. But a couple of blocks would be nice. But I thought this was just generally a nice game. 17 points and 8 rebounds from your starting center is good, and that's good production. I thought he handled things well. It was a good job from him. Jaylen Brown was good. especially early on. But overall, 25 points, shot 50% from 2, 50% from 3, 5 of 6 from the line. Oh, I didn't mention that Derrick went to the line 7 times, mostly in that third quarter. The aggressiveness has to be there. And I thought the Celtics played with some decent pace, and that contributed to a lot in that third quarter. And when the Celtics played with pace and moved and attacked, they got to the free throw line. Earlier in the game, the first quarter, second quarter, they were taking a lot of jumpers, and the Sixers were attacking, and the Sixers got to the free throw line. So ultimately, they both evened out, and they both hit 23 free throws, but it was a lot for the Sixers early. It was a lot more for the Sixers, for the Celtics later on. It's just a matter of being aggressive. And I thought, Jaylen got aggressive. Derrick got aggressive beyond the 3-point shooting. The pace of play, the Celtics did push the pace. At one point, they were up to, I think, 24% of their offense was in transition. That dropped a bit in the fourth quarter. They slowed down too much. I'm mixing my positives and negatives now, but I thought Jaylen did a good job. 25 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. 3 of those assists came early. Just want to see a little bit more of that. But again, the Celtics shot poorly, so he probably would have had 6 or 7 assists. It could have been a 25, 6 and 6 or 25, 6 and 7 night for him. Again, I need to see him rebound a little bit more. He had said that after the game too. 6 rebounds, that's fine, but you need to get in there and get a few more. So he was good. Shout out to Anthony Simons, who did a nice job as well. He finished with, where is Anthony Simons? 5 of 10, shot 13. He hit for 13 points, 4 rebounds. His defense, there were a couple of times where he picked up full court. I thought that was good too. So generally, I thought most of the guys played well. I think Pritchard played well, except for the 3-point shooting. So the starters all played generally pretty well. The negatives, let's get to the negatives when we come back, because the fouling, the rebounding, the slowing things down, and all of that stuff, the timing, that's all next. Today's show is brought to you by Skims. When I found out that Skims was making underwear for men, I was, intrigued. My wife heard they were making underwear for men. She said, "You're going to love it," because she loves Skims. She has a ton already. And she said, if they're anything like, mine, you're going to love them. And I do. Okay. There are always issues, guys. We know with underwear, whether you're wearing briefs, boxers, or boxer briefs, if you get the wrong fit, it can be uncomfortable. And we're not shy about being like, oh, we got to make our little adjustments and all of that stuff. You don't have to really do that with Skims. I wear Skims when I'm out and about, or I really like wearing Skims when I work out, because there's no need for adjustments. They stay where they need to stay. They feel good. They are nice and cool. They're everything that you want from lightweight material. It really feels like you're kind of wearing nothing at all. You forget about it. And trust me, I've been at the gym when I haven't, it's been uncomfortable. I don't like that. So I love the fact that the Skims boxer briefs move with me, and they're just, they're going to be great. So go buy them. Go shop Skims Men's at skims.com. That's SKIMS, skims.com. Or, you can go to a store if you want, but Skims Men's at skims.com. You're going to stock up. Let them know we sent you when you do, after you place your order. Select podcast in the survey, and then select this show in the drop-down menu that follows to let them know that we sent you. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. You want to win your fantasy basketball league? Check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball with Josh Lloyd. He's going to help you win your league. Lots of ads, lots of drops. He's going to give you the real scoop on guys like VJ Edgecomb. If you haven't, maybe some people haven't picked him up or whatever. He's probably gone in most drafts, but you never know. So Josh Lloyd's going to have you covered on Locked On Fantasy Basketball, the absolute number one. So the number one show on this network for a reason, and the number one fantasy basketball podcast around. So go check that out. let's get back to the game, the negatives. So they did play with pace. That pace did go away, and that's a problem. You need to play with pace. Jaylen said it after the game. People say you got to slow down in the fourth quarter, and he's like, why? Keep playing fast. Keep playing the way you got that got you there. That's kind of what the Thunder did. The Thunder didn't slow down in fourth quarters, not as dramatically, not like the Celtics did last year. And I think Jaylen is right. They slowed down a little too much. I think they got that lead. They got a 7-point lead with 4:44 to go. And all of a sudden, they give up 19 points in the last 4 minutes and 44 seconds. That is hard to do. And I think that's just a lack of attention to detail. Your Jaylen said tendencies. You're not forcing Maxey to his left. You're not getting back. You're not boxing out anymore. You're giving up some offensive rebounds, a couple of putback dunks there. Second chances will kill you down the stretch. You got to clear out those rebounds. Down the stretch, the last 3-4 minutes of the game, there's nowhere to go when you make mistakes, right? You make a mistake at the beginning of the game, Joe Mazzulla will sub people out and all of that stuff. Can't really do that as much. You can't make a point in the last few minutes of the game because you want your guys out there. You want the guys that are going to finish that you feel like you're going to give you a chance to win. And too many of those mistakes. I think the fouls were sloppy. 9 fouls in the last 5 minutes of the game. 9 fouls. And that's outrageous. And look, I feel like most of those were legit. The offensive fouls, I know the one with Hauser is up for some debate. You can't put your hands. He put his hands in a kind of like a grabbing motion. It looks like a foul. Even if he didn't gain an advantage, it looks like he gained an advantage, and that's going to get called. And there's nothing you can do to challenge that because he can say, I didn't pull him. I didn't do anything, but you put your hands on his shoulders. You moved a certain way. He moved a certain way. That might've been just the natural way people were moving at that time, but it looks like a foul. And so nothing you can do there. That's unfortunate, but you got to put yourself in a better position. And again, this is Sam Hauser. He's not one to set a lot of picks. And this is where the reads, the chemistry, the timing, this is why I'm not so worried about that stuff. You're going to have those calls go against you sometimes anyway, but I just feel like that's correctable. The screen from Queta is correctable. The boxing out, rebounding, correctable. They should have won this game. And honestly, if this was like a season where they were fighting for a top seed, they were equal with the Knicks and the Cavs, and every win would be so important that a loss like this could be the difference between a 1 and a 3 seed. If the Celtics were a contender out west, that would be like a huge talking point. It's not a big deal. Like right now, I say, great, get these out of the way now. Have a clutch game in the first game of the season and fail if you need to. And then, now Peyton Pritchard knows, right? Now everybody knows. Now we have a better idea of options off of a thing like that. It's not always going to be Jaylen getting the last shot. And it's I think something that you can go to Tatum and be like, look, you're not always going to get the last shot either. So let's all learn together how to navigate this. I feel like they will learn from how they defended Maxey. That's obviously was terrible, but overall, I come out of it like, okay, good stuff mostly, bad stuff for a few minutes, and it hurt you, but generally a pretty good game. I'll rewatch this game. I'll break things down. I'll come back tomorrow and dive even deeper We'll get some of the numbers from the game, and we'll see exactly where they did really well, where things started to fall apart. So we'll revisit this in tomorrow's podcast, and then a bonus podcast on Friday after the Knicks game. So make sure you are subscribed. This show is free. It's daily, Monday through Friday. When they play on a Friday, when they play on a Saturday as well, I will do a podcast after those games. So subscribe. Watch the show on YouTube, get into the comment section, join your fellow everydayers, the people who are with me every Monday through Friday that make this show their first listen every day. Become an everydayer yourself, and then share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.